Welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire. Let's turn the page together. There will be actual page turning this time. Okay, so I know we read The Godfather earlier this week, but I kid you not. Godfather Death is the story for today. Is it a continuation? Do we get to see the Godfather side? Do we see what actually happened? Because the man was crazy. I don't know. Let's find out. Without further ado, Godfather Death. A poor man had 12 children and was forced to work night and day to provide them even with bread. When therefore the 13th came into the world, he knew not what to do in his trouble, but he ran out into the great highway and resolved to ask the first person whom he met to be godfather. The first to meet him was the good God, who already knew what troubled him, and said to him, "Poor man, I pity you. I will hold your child at its christening, and will take charge of it and make it happy on earth." The man said, "Who are you?" "I am God." "Then I do not desire to have you for a godfather." Said the man, "You give to the rich and leave the poor to hunger." Thus spoke the man, for he did not know how wisely God apportions riches and poverty. He turned therefore away from the Lord and went farther. Then the devil came to him and said, "What do you seek? If you will take me as godfather for your child, I will give him gold in plenty and all the joys of the world as well." The man asked, "Who are you?" "I am the devil." "Then I do not desire for you to be godfather." Said the man, "You deceive men and lead them astray." He went onwards, then came Death, striding up to him with withered legs, and said, "Take me as godfather." The man asked, "Who are you?" "I am Death, and I make all equal." Then said the man, "You are the right one. You take the rich as well as the poor. Without distinctions, you shall be godfather." Death answered, "I will make your child rich and famous, for he who has me for a friend can lack nothing." The man said, "Next Sunday is the christening. Be there at the right time." Death appeared as he had promised, and stood godfather quite in the usual way. When the boy had grown up, his godfather one day appeared and bade him go with him. He led him forth into a forest and showed him an herb which grew there, and said, "Now you shall receive your godfather's present. I make you a celebrated physician. When you are called to a patient, I will always appear to you. If I stand by the head of the sick man, you may say with confidence that you will make him well again, and if you give him this herb, he will recover. But if I stand by the patient's feet, he is mine, and you must say that all remedies are in vain, and that no physician in the world could save him. But beware of using the herb against my will, or it might fare badly for you." It was not long before the youth was the most famous physician in the whole world. People said of him, he had only to look at the patient and he knew his condition at once, and if he would recover or must die. From far and wide people came to him and sent for him when they had anyone ill, and gave him so much money that he soon became a rich man. Now it so happened that the king became ill, and the physician was summoned, and was to say if recovery were possible. But when he came to the bed, Death was standing by the feet of the sick man, and the herb did not grow, which could save him. "If I could but cheat Death for once," thought the physician. "He is sure to be angry if I do, as I am his godson. He may shut one eye. I will risk it." He therefore took up the sick man and laid him the other way, so that now Death was standing by his head. Then he gave the king some of the herb, and he recovered and grew healthy again. But Death came to the physician, looking very black and angry, threatened him with his finger, and said, "You have overreached me. This time I will pardon it, as you are my godson. But if you venture it again, it will cost you your neck, for I will take you away with me." Soon afterwards, the king's daughter fell into a severe illness. She was his only child, and he wept day and night, so that he began to lose the sight of his eyes, and he made it known that whoever rescued her from death should be her husband and inherit the crown. When the physician came to the sick girl's bed, he saw Death by her feet. He ought to have remembered the warning given by his godfather, but he was so infatuated by the great beauty of the king's daughter and the happiness of becoming her husband that he flung all thought to the winds. He did not see that Death was casting angry glances on him, that he was raising his hand in the air and threatening him with his withered fist. He raised up the sick girl, placed her head where her feet had lain. Then he gave her some of the herb, and instantly her cheeks flushed red, and life stirred afresh in her. When Death saw that for a second time he was defrauded of his own property, he walked up to the physician with long strides and said, "All is over for you, and now the lot falls on you," and seized him so firmly that with his ice-cold hand that he could not resist, and led him into a cave below the earth. There he saw how thousands and thousands of candles were burning in countless rows, some large, others half-sized, others small. Every instant some were extinguished, and others again burnt up, so that the flames seemed to leap here and there in perpetual change. "See," said Death, "these are the lights of men's lives. The large ones belong to children, the half-sized to married people in their prime. The little ones belong to old people, but children and young folks likewise have often only a tiny candle." "Show me the light of my life," said the physician, and he thought that it would be very tall. Death pointed to a little end which was just threatening to go out and said, "Look, it is there." "Ah, dear godfather," said the horrified physician, "light a new one for me. Do it for love of me, that I may enjoy my life, be king, and the husband of the king's beautiful daughter." "I cannot," answered Death. "One must go out before a new one is lighted. Then place the old one on a new one. Then we'll go on burning when the old one has come to an end," pleaded the physician. Death behaved as if he were going to fulfill his wish, and took hold of a tall new candle, but as he desired revenge, he purposely made a mistake in fixing it, and the little piece fell down and was extinguished. Immediately the physician fell on the ground, and now he himself was in the hands of Death. Ooh, that's some spooky stuff right there. That's some spooky stuff. Honestly, it kind of did feel like the sequel to The Godfather, like the more rational explanation to the story. Like the Brothers Grimm wrote it and they were like, no, not believable enough. No, let's rewrite. But then they're like, oh, we need exactly 212 stories. So I vote that we put the draft in. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. Because there were a lot of similarities between the two stories, and I'm like, this one makes a lot more sense. Okay. Let's see. First off, I like in the beginning where he's talking to God. And he's like, because I don't like this thing that you're in charge of, and I feel like you do wrong, you don't get to be godfather to my child. And then it was like, but God does what he needs to do, even though men don't understand it later. Interesting little note. Honestly, I really liked this one. It just kind of struck a spot with me. Also, I love the part where it's like, I'm gonna stand at their head if they're fine, but if I'm at their feet, then they're gonna die. And then he's like, oh no, the king's gonna die. And then he's like, wait. What if I, turn him around? So that Death is standing in his head. Literally, Death could have just been like, no, and walked around. And, made a point. It's like, no, he's gonna die. But no, he didn't. He's just like, dude, I can't even believe you tried that on me. And then he did it again. Did he just think that if, Death wasn't at their head, the herb wouldn't work? Is that what he thought? So he had to do that the second time? Or did he just, I don't know. Why did he do it the second time if he knew? I don't know. It's just funny to me. It was really funny. Okay. And I swear, I kid you not, I did not embellish this one at all. I don't embellish, really, unless on accident. No, it says straight up. but he was so infatuated by the king's daughter. He did not see that Death was casting angry glances, or that he was raising his hand. Where was the one that I was like, it seriously says this, guys? He ought to have remembered the warning given by his godfather, but he did. Like, it says that, like, the Brothers Grimm are salty with this character. They're like, he's kind of the worst, man. Or maybe even the person who translated this, because again, the translation, this was originally German, so did they embellish it? If they, because some of the stories they wrote, and some of the stories they, collected. So is this one that they wrote, and they're done with him, or were they just done with him because they collected it? Or did the translator, add that, or, was it there the whole time? I don't know. It was excellent to me. If straight up Death, or, other, important people or things come and say, don't do X thing. Maybe you should do X thing. Or don't. If they say do it, do it. If they say don't. If straight up Death shows up and is like, hey man, this thing you're about to do, it's not gonna end well. Don't do it. Then don't do it. Okay. I also liked the candles. They're just a very vivid representation. And okay, first I want to end with that. So, coming back to that. So at first, I'm a little salty with Death right now. Wow, I never thought I would say that. But I'm a little salty with Death right now because he's like, oh, totally gonna do it, and then, he doesn't. He just, he does it because he's mad. He, specifically does it to be mean. And I can see, in Death's head, him just justify, if he were sitting over there. He's not, guys, I'm kidding. And he were to be like, well, okay, but, he totally was like, I'll follow the rules, and then he didn't, so it was fair. But, you knew he wasn't gonna, he flipped the person, you knew he was gonna not follow the rules. Big pardon. So, that wasn't cool, in my opinion. Me sitting here, Death, man, that wasn't cool. But he also, okay, at the very beginning, Death could have just straight up been like, oh, and the herb will not work unless I consent, so don't even bother trying. But he didn't. He gave Mr. Physician over here a fair chance, and that's on him. If he hadn't wanted any chance for him to cheat Death, he shouldn't have been honest with him. So be careful with your information. If you don't want people an opportunity to cheat you, don't give them stuff to cheat you with. Yeah. We're gonna go with that. Okay. The thing I wanted to end on, the representation of the candles is honestly very chilling and beautiful for me. Especially because there's a movie where they employ a similar topic with the candles of life, and it was a good movie. Set in kind of like a Mexican theme. Came out a couple years ago and has been kind of overlooked by this other movie that's also a Mexican theme, like Dia de los Muertos, both of them. You know what I'm talking about? They're both animated. Picking up. I'm talking about the first one. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say on that. The candles is just such a, because like candles, like they can have their lifespan, but it's also very easy to show like if that lifespan is cut short by chopping it in half, or if it's just blown out by wind or other things. So it shows like this is how long people are supposed to live. And there are other things that happen sometimes. Yeah. But something he said struck a chord with me. Because I personally don't necessarily agree with this. Because he's like, please just relight my candle. It's about to go out. I don't like that. And Death's like, I can't, because another one has to go out for a new light to exist. Like, I don't, on the term of life, that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. Because we have, like, more people being born than are dying, or vice versa. Like, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, so that, first off, doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me. But that's not my point. What did make sense to me is that all things have a consequence. Like, all magic comes with a price. All, all good things are gonna, like, something else is gonna be needed to do. Like, it's like, if you want to be rich and famous, you're gonna have to work hard for it. Typically speaking, unless you're, like, born into rich and fame, and then I don't know where to go from there. But from this standpoint, like, if you want a friend, you have to be a friend. If you know, there's a give and a take. There's an action and a consequence. So that part did make sense to me, of action, consequence, give, take. Like, that's how ideally it works. Sometimes that's not how it works, and it sucks, because some people just take, and some people just give, and they don't know how to take, and then some people make dumb decisions and nothing bad ever seems to happen to them, and some people just do good things and then bad things happen to them. Like, it seems sometimes that the balance is out of whack, but there is a balance, typically speaking. So yeah, that's interesting thought, that life and death and good and bad, balance is important in your life. Yes, camerawoman.
Can I just say that that's not how life and death actually works in real life. One person doesn't have to die for a person to get a life.
Thank you. Yeah, and movies and TV shows, sometimes that's how that works. It's sacrifice. I don't think that's how it works, because of the whole ratio thing. But I'm no scientist, I'm no doctor, I don't know things. Yeah. But, well, I know some things, but, like, I don't know how that whole thing works, so I'm like, that was a little weird description. But the balance, the give and take, good and bad, life and death, actions, consequences, that's a thing. So, yeah, I don't know what to say other than it is a thing to watch out for. And with that, we've reached, thank you for joining us for another Happily Ever After. Or not so happily ever after. That's up for you to decide, and what you decide is valid, because you are valid. Either way, we've reached the end for this episode, so tune in later, and we can learn more and turn a new page together.